Will Levis was far from the only problem for the Titans, but he didn't play well enough in their loss to the Chargers. That and more on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. The Tennessee Titans lose once again. We're going to talk about the performance of Will Levis in his return. It was okay, but it wasn't good enough. I'll explain. Also, there were some bright spots in there. We'll talk tighten up, tighten down. And at the end of the day, it's the same old problems for the Tennessee Titans, who just aren't a very good football team. Before we dive in, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. And if you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. So the Tennessee Titans lose 27-17 to the Los Angeles Chargers. And quite honestly, it was one of the better games of the season, if we're honest. Like, the Titans were competitive out there. They had some good moments. Some things went their way. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't good enough. And the conversation, obviously, when we talk about okay but not good enough, has to start with the return of Will Levis. So Will Levis back out on the field. And look, I'm not going to say that Will Levis played terrible in this game. He certainly didn't play terrible, but it wasn't good enough. And I already know what folks are going to do. They're going to look in the box score, and they're going to say 18 for 23. They're going to say 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't have the bonehead mistake, 127 quarterback rating. Will Levis played great in this game. But it takes a knowledge of football and an understanding of how the quarterback can impact the rest of the offense to have a proper evaluation of Will Levis's play in this game. Again, I am not going to sit here and say that this is on Will Levis. This game is not solely on Will Levis. It's not all Will Levis's fault. That's absolutely not the case. And anybody saying that the Titans lost this game only because of Will Levis, that's absurd, in my opinion. He wasn't the only reason that they lost this game. He had good moments as well. It's not, obviously, he comes back out there, gets the game started with the 42-yard bomb to Calvin Ridley at the end of the game. Now, the game is completely out of hand. The Chargers know that they've won the game. But, hey, the connection to Calvin Ridley once again on the second touchdown pass at the end of the game, that's good. That's what you like to see. He was able to do some things with his legs. He was able to get some first downs and pick up some conversions. Like, it wasn't all bad by any means. But you also have to be honest about, look at the sack totals. I mean, the Titans had more sacks in this game than they've had the past 5 weeks. Coincidence? Think about it here. Will Levis was holding the ball so much. And look, I can think of at least 2 of the 7 sacks where you could probably put it on the offensive lineman. I think it's 1.5, if I'm being honest with you. That first sack by Dillon Radunz, where everybody went off and said Dillon Radunz got demolished. At the end of the day, Will Levis had the opportunity to step up in the pocket there. He had a clean middle of the pocket that he could have stepped up, and he had the opportunity to get the ball out of his hands. I'm going to throw a stat at you guys that I saw. My guy, Zach Lyon, said that at one point in time in this game, when there were 6 sacks on the board, Will Levis had a 4.9 second snap to sack time. It was the most in the NFL this weekend. Will Levis was holding the ball too long. It's the same exact thing that he has struggled with in the past. He just doesn't get rid of the ball. And obviously, there are going to be some people who say 7 sacks. Look at the offensive line. The offensive line was terrible. But to me, at minimum, 5 of those sacks are on Will Levis, and I would say 6. And if you listen to good quarterbacks talk about quarterback play, they say sacks are a quarterback stat because your quarterback can help out the offensive line so much. So make no mistake whatsoever that the reason that the Titans all of a sudden gave up 1 billion sacks in a game again is because Will Levis is back in the game and he doesn't get rid of the ball. And there were opportunities for him to get rid of the ball where he didn't. Think about the very first sack of the game. He has Chigakonkwo on the sideline for a short gain that would set up a 3rd and short, and he just doesn't throw him the ball and instead points at Chig to tell him to block and then tries to run and get sacked for 3 yards. Either throw the ball out of bounds or throw it to Chigakonkwo on the sideline for a short gain. Stop trying to play hero ball. You think about another sack that Will Levis took where it's a bootleg, play action bootleg, and Josh Wiley is wide open and Levis just doesn't throw him the ball. And one of the last sacks of the game. Yes, it's 3rd down and long, but you have to give your players an opportunity to make plays. What gives you a better chance to convert a 1st down? Dumping it off to Chigakonkwo for 5 yards and seeing if he can break a tackle, or taking a sack? Again, Will Levis isn't the only reason the Titans lost this game. He was not one of their top 3 issues, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that he played well enough. And it's frustrating for me as someone who has grown up on the NFL. I watched all NFL teams my entire life. I didn't come to football because of the Titans. I came to football and was an NFL fan for multiple years. And then when I was about 9 years old, I decided me and my brother, we were going to like the Titans. I love the sport of football, and I cover the NFL for Locked On for a living. They pay me to cover the entire league, and I watch other quarterbacks and the way that they play, and Titans fans are just stuck in this rut where they accept mediocrity. And if the quarterback doesn't completely blow the game like an idiot, then he played well enough, and it's just not the truth. Mid quarterback play is not going to be good enough on most days. And Will Levis was okay in this game, but make no mistake, he wasn't great in this game. And you could go look at the stats and tell me Will Levis had a fantastic game. Well, he had a garbage time touchdown that makes it look better. But throughout the middle portions of that game, he was holding on to the ball too long. He was hurting his offensive line. And this offensive line is much better than 7 sacks allowed. At some point in time, we have to be honest here about what we're seeing. Now, I think that Will Levis, compared to what he was doing early in the year, this was a tremendous improvement. He definitely played better in this game than he's played all year long. This was his best game of the season. But that doesn't mean that it was good. That doesn't mean it was good enough, because the way he played today was okay, but it wasn't good enough to win the game, and he sacrificed his offensive line trying to play hero ball, and that's the same old from Will Levis that we've seen for most of the year, and quite honestly, that we saw a lot of the time last year, outside of 2 games where he was phenomenal. So, I just have to make this point up top. It was good to see Will Levis back in. I don't think the Titans win this game with Mason Rudolph, but he played okay. Let's not pretend that he played great. But let's talk about some guys who did play great. Before we do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Our friends at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like you. The fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. All right. Got a huge play from the latest game, a big upcoming matchup, an exciting moment with friends while watching the game. What's your fan fuel this week? 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you're rooting for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for a big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with 5 Hour Energy, baby. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way, the simplest way, the most fun way to play daily fantasy sports. That's why over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings are on Prize Picks. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Here's how it works. Prize Picks has a projection for every player. Jamar Chase, 79.5 receiving yards. Patrick Mahomes, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 59.5 receiving yards. Saquon Barkley, 79.5 rushing yards. All you do is say more or less. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Titans fans, let's continue today's recap of the 27-17 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, it wasn't all Will Levis's fault, but he didn't play well enough to win, and he hurt his offensive line significantly in this game. It's no coincidence that the sack numbers balloon and the time to throw will be super high, blah, blah, blah. So we just have to be honest with ourselves here about what we saw from the young quarterback. Nice to have him back out on the field, but it wasn't good enough against the Chargers. I want to talk about some players who did play well enough in this game, because there are a lot of people out there who had good games for the Titans again, and I'm incredibly encouraged by some of the fantastic play that we see from some people on this team. Number one, we got to start with Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley was great once again in this game. 5 catches, 84 yards, had 2 touchdowns, and some people, it's kind of crazy to me that some people take aim at Calvin Ridley when he has been one of the simple bright spots that the Titans have had all year long. Like, Calvin Ridley has been worth the money. Calvin Ridley has been fantastic. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you don't see Calvin Ridley constantly getting separation, constantly being open, making big plays, especially over the last 3 weeks, Calvin Ridley has been absolutely fantastic. And early in the season, Calvin Ridley was the only reason the Titans were scoring touchdowns. I just don't know how you can look at what this team has done this year halfway through a season and say that Calvin Ridley hasn't been worth the money. Like, there are so many other problems with this team. Calvin Ridley is doing his job. You look at the running backs in this game, the Titans definitely tried to spell Tony Pollard in this one, but Tyjae Spears came back, 7 carries, 47 yards. Tony Pollard, 9 carries, 44 yards. Like, the running backs did their job in this game. They ran hard. They ran with purpose. They made plays happen. When people were contacting them behind the line of scrimmage, they were able to make something out of it. Like, I just have to give credit where credit is due. And I also want to bring up Bryce Oliver, the Titans' undrafted free agent wide receiver who we all have been wanting to see. Finally got called up. He got 2 targets, had 2 catches for 23 yards. I want to see more Bryce Oliver throughout the rest of this season, okay? I want to see more from the undrafted free agent. Now, I know that this is going to sound crazy because the Titans gave up 7 sacks in this game. But again, 5 of those at minimum, I personally would say 6 of those sacks are on Will Levis for holding the ball. And I will repeat once again, in case you missed it when I said it in the first segment, with 6 sacks on the board, 4.9 seconds from snap to sack, Will Levis was holding the ball all day long. Like, he played better than he's played all year, but it wasn't good enough, and it hurt the offensive line so bad. I mean, John Ojukwu got smoked for a sack at one point. That absolutely happened. Dylan Radins, I think that one's a little questionable, in my opinion. Definitely going to go over the 7 sacks in a film breakdown on the Tic Tac Titans film channel. But 5 sacks in this game were not on the offensive line. They were Will Levis holding the ball. So J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, especially Daniel Brunskill at center, I thought they were fantastic in this game. Dylan Radins maybe gets credited with the 1 sack, but overall, I thought the Titans' offensive line gave Will Levis a ton of time. They gave him opportunities to get rid of the ball. And if Mason Rudolph was playing quarterback, the Titans don't win the game by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But the Titans probably only give up 1 or 2 sacks at maximum if Mason Rudolph is playing in this game. That's the difference. The Titans went from giving up a couple of sacks in an entire month of games to giving up 7 sacks in one game. Why is that? Think about it. Just be logical here. So I thought the offensive line did not have a terrible game, especially J.C. Latham, especially Peter Skoronski, especially Daniel Brunskill at center. I thought he filled in admirably for the Titans. On the defensive side of the ball, we'll talk about issues that the Tennessee Titans had in this game, but I thought once again, Jack Gibbons had a pretty good game, especially in run defense. I only saw him give up 2 catches on the entire game. That's at maximum. It might only be 1 when I go back and watch the tape and can see what the Titans defense is actually doing from a coverage standpoint, what plays they're running, whether it's zone or man. Like, Jack Gibbons didn't get attacked all day in this game. You know who got attacked all day was Kenneth Murray. And I tried to tell you guys when the Titans signed Kenneth Murray that this was a mistake, that Kenneth Murray is a terrible, terrible starting linebacker. Kenneth Murray can only go downhill, and if you ask him to be in coverage, he's awful. And Kenneth Murray has been awful this year. And some people, again, the box score scouting, Will Levis, look at his stats. He played well. Kenneth Murray, he's got a bunch of tackles. He's playing well. Like, you guys, football is not a game where you could just, really, there are no games where you could just look in the box score and say, oh, this player played well. Look at his stats. It doesn't work like that. You have to watch the film. You have to see what these players are doing, because Kenneth Murray got abused all day. The Chargers knew, we are attacking Kenneth Murray in coverage. Wherever he is, wherever he's going to be, whoever he's covering, we're finding Kenneth Murray, and we are throwing at him. Like, I mean, they paid him money. They believe in his athleticism and his skill set. He has good moments because of that, but just far too often he is killing this defense with his coverage over the middle of the field. I thought that Jeffrey Simmons had a decent day in this game. I think he should have had a strip sack for a fumble, and it's just absolutely ridiculous that no matter what the circumstance, no matter who's playing, no matter what's going on, the Titans are the team that's going to get screwed. Whether it be Derek Carr in week 1 last year, whether it be Josh Dobbs 2 years ago in the last game of the season, whether it be this game, Justin Herbert has the ball underhanded, and everybody's saying, oh, well, it can be underhanded and he can throw it forward. The ball was knocked out of his hand before his hand started coming forward. That is a fumble. That is a strip sack fumble. Now, I don't think that the Titans would have won this game if they would have got that call, because at the end of the day, the Titans never play well in the second half. Like, it would have been 27-24. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that it would have made a winning difference, in my opinion. But I understand if you feel like it would have. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, just so annoying what's going on with those fumble strip sack calls. Just absolutely annoying, in my opinion. So, at the end of the day, there were some good performances on offense, not a lot of good performances on defense, but it's the same old problems for the Titans, and that's why they can't win. We see the same thing every week, and I have bad news. It's probably not going to get solved anytime soon. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. The gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. I'm going to be getting some Omaha Steaks for my stepdad, Ron. I cannot wait. Shout out to you, Ron. But that's my plan every single year, from legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the second half of the NFL season this year with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And I told you guys, Chargers money line all week was a great way to win that first $5 bet. That's on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's cap off today's recap edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Tennessee Titans lose 27-17 to the Los Angeles Chargers. Talked about how Will Levis wasn't terrible, but he didn't play well enough, and he really hurt his offensive line, and the 7 sacks are no coincidence. But we talked about some bright spots for the Titans with Calvin Ridley and the running backs and Jack Gibbons and the left side of the offensive line playing well in this game. Now we just got to talk about why it's the same old for the Titans, because at the end of the day, there are big picture issues here that have hurt the Titans all year long. It's not going to change this year. And this is why I saw some people getting super optimistic after Will Levis threw that touchdown pass. And look, I don't want to poo-poo the excitement. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here for you guys. But at the end of the day, why would you have optimism in this team no matter how the game starts? How many times in a row do you got to see this movie where the Titans play decent at the beginning of the game and then the problems that are going to swallow them up at the end? It's just the same old every single time. Before we go over it, do want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Titans your first listen. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. But for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of Locked On NFL for the Locked On Podcast Network, covering everything you need to know about the NFL in under 30 minutes every weekday. So make sure that you get subscribed. Stay subscribed as well to Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But again, it's the same 4 problems that the Tennessee Titans have had all season long. It's the same 4 problems. The quarterback play isn't good enough, whether that be Will Levis, whether that be Mason Rudolph, it doesn't matter. The quarterback play is not good enough. The Titans are not getting even mid-quarterback play for most weeks. Now, I would say Will Levis was okay in this game. He was okay. Didn't kill him like he has in previous games, so that's an improvement, right? But at the end of the day, overall throughout the season, the Titans have had some of the worst quarterback play of any team in the NFL. And that continues to be a problem. The Titans gave up 7 sacks in this game. Will Levis missed some open opportunities. The quarterback play wasn't good enough. And then you look at the right tackle spot. And out of the 7 sacks that the Titans gave up in this game, in my opinion, only one of them, with no debate, was on an offensive lineman. And that was John Ojukwu at right tackle. Why? Because the Titans have to rotate their right tackle spot because both guys are so terrible. Leroy Watson on one drive, had 3 penalties. The Titans would have had a pretty easy field goal on a 3rd and 6 where, again, 3rd and 6, NWI is open on an out route for a first down, and Will Levis throws a terrible pass. But it would have been 4th and 6 from the 21-yard line, and the Titans would have had an easy 30-some-yard field goal for Nick Folk. Awesome. Instead, face mask on Leroy Watson. And some people were saying it wasn't a face mask, but it was a holding. So 10 yards instead of 15. And then immediately follows it up with a false start. Leroy Watson is not good either. So again, bad quarterback play for the season overall. And then awful right tackle play. It's crazy because left tackle, left guard, center, right guard has been pretty good for the Titans. But right tackle being so terrible has harmed them in such a way. It's just the same old, same old. They don't have a right tackle on the – they could play NPF or John Ojukwu or Leroy Watson. I mean, they could throw me out there all they want. It's going to be the same old problems. They don't have a good enough right tackle on this roster. They don't. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball. No pass rush. Like, there are people out there, Titans fans, who watch this team every week and don't think that edge rusher is a primary issue. Like, the Titans do not have enough in the pass rush. Jeffrey Simmons has been a lot better in the last 3 weeks. Simmons has been really good in the last 3 weeks in the pass rush. Not so great today, but the last couple of games he's really kicked it on. The reality is, Sebastian Joseph Day was never meant to be an incredible pass rusher. T'Vondre Sweat has not been good enough in the pass rush. I know that I'm probably not the guy who's allowed to say that because I was wrong about his evaluation, but if you want to be truthful, T'Vondre Sweat is not factored in the pass rush in 6 weeks, a month and a half, like 2 months maybe. So if T'Vondre Sweat is giving you nothing in the pass rush, and Simmons is the only guy who's doing that, and then Harold Landry is slowed down significantly because he's more of an effort rusher than he is a winner one-on-one. Arden Key has had some okay moments, but can you count on Arden Key consistently? 4 good games doesn't mean that Arden Key is somebody who he's never been throughout the rest of his career. He's not a consistent one-on-one pass rush winner. He's not. So the Titans pass rush got 0 sacks in this game against a team that has not been great on the interior. It's unacceptable that the Titans were not able to get a single sack on Justin Herbert today, and they made him look like Mike Vick out there at times. So, quarterback play, right tackle play, the pass rush. It's the same problems every week. And then finally, the cherry on top of the bozo sundae is the special teams. The Titans in a decent position in this game. I believe it was 13-10 in a decent position. And then the Titans give up the back-breaking special teams run, give the Chargers the ball at the 50-yard line, and they go down and score a touchdown. It's 20-10, and the game is over. It's the same 4 problems. Quarterback, right tackle, pass rush, special teams. And none of it is going to improve this season. It can only be fixed next offseason. You draft or sign a right tackle. Will Levis gets better or the Titans take a quarterback high in the draft? Definitely a possibility. You add to the pass rush in free agency or the draft, and you fire Colt Anderson to the sun. At the end of the day, again, Will Levis played okay, but it wasn't good enough. Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, the left side of the offensive line, Jack Gibbons, had some good play today, but it's the same 4 problems every single week. Quarterback, right tackle, pass rush, special teams. And it's not getting better anytime soon. The good news is a lot of teams that are fighting for a draft pick with the Titans won on Sunday, which helps the Titans draft pick. Now, that's something that we are going to talk about on tomorrow's show. So that is going to do it for me today, folks. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, throw a thumbs up on the video, throw a tighten up down in the chat if you're watching on YouTube. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.